Hi, I'm Teresa Martin from Lower Cape TV, and welcome to the second season of The Minds of Summer, produced in partnership with the Cape Cod Institute, which brings leading thinkers and doers from around the world to its renowned week-long workshops right here on the Outer Cape. Let's have some fun. Today's guest says that fun is something we too often forget about as adults. But it turns out that having fun is part of the secret to a healthy life. Dr. Robert Schwarz is a psychologist, marriage counselor, and author of 2 books, Tools for Transforming Trauma and We're No Fun Anymore, helping couples cultivate joyful marriages through the power of play. Welcome, Dr. Schwarz. So let me start by asking, your 2 books take on seemingly very, very different topics.
Right.
But I get a sense that maybe there's some underlying connection, because when we were talking previously, you had mentioned about having a passion for helping people refine the joy of being alive.
Right. So the older book is the Tools for Transforming Trauma, and one of the points of this book, which was written in 2002, and back then, and unfortunately still today sometimes there's too much focus on dealing with the trauma itself, and not enough, therapists don't always focus enough on building up the resources of clients. And so part of the way of thinking about this is, living well is the best revenge, right? So building up good stuff. It's important to deal with the trauma, no question, but you have to build up good stuff, catch people having good times, and people have to have good times. In fact, just to finish this up, it was never published, but a study where we asked a bunch of people who had serious trauma, who felt they recovered. Well, what did they, if they were going to give advice, what advice would they give? And one of the advices was to go out into the world, exercise, reclaim your life, right? Play more, go out in the nature. So that's this sort of came up. That was there first, and then I've done a lot of work with couples, and my co-author and I were at one point sort of talking about, gee, isn't it a shame that all these people come in and, they have okay marriages or not okay marriages, it varied, but they're taking their kids to soccer, and they're driving here, and they're driving there, and they're working 2 jobs, and they're doing all this stuff, and then they turn around and go, well, we're not, our relationship's no good because we're not having any fun. You're not. And so out of that came the idea of this book of We're Having Fun, and the underlying theme is you need to develop positive resources in life. You need to cultivate these things. Otherwise, there's just plenty of negative to go around.
Well, I would say I love the title of the book, We're No Fun Anymore.
Yeah.
And I would bet whether you're in a married relationship, even if you're just in adult functioning everyday life, at some point you look in the mirror and you go, what happened to me? I used to have fun.
Yeah, I'm no fun anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, what happens to us? Why do we forget to have fun if it's so important?
Well, I think first of all, there's a lot of economic pressure for people to work. But the culture is very much of a work-oriented culture. There's a lot of, the old Puritan ethic is sort of still there. And the idea of play and fun is sort of relegated to, well, that's just not that important. It's frivolous. It's not necessary. It's the icing on the cake, if you even get cake.
Right.
And it's unfortunately not true, because if you don't have fun, that's what everybody likes. That's when people have great moments, great times in their relationships, great times in their life, they're often having fun.
Well, I find it interesting because the things that this work ethic values are things, and
Can be,
and one can have a great deal of fun without the thing. So it's almost this, even larger value set underlying it. Right.
Well, the happiness research has shown that if you make under $75,000, that sort of matters and gets in the way of your happiness. But over $75,000, you can have 100,000 or 200,000 or $500,000.
Right.
That's not a really good predictor of happiness. What's predictor of happiness is a feeling of belonging and doing things with others, and doing joyful activities, having fun. Yeah, I guess what a shocker there. Well,
there's a lot of talk about happiness, and happiness seems to be something you're supposed to work to get. I mean, that doesn't sound very fun to me. So are happiness and fun the same thing?
Probably not. I mean, fun is a more, I think, in the moment kind of thing, and I think we call happiness an overall state. But if you have lots of fun times, if you cultivate playfulness, I think that's the thing that we often don't do. We don't cultivate it. Something as simple as doing the dishes. You can do the dishes as drudgery,
Right.
or you can put on some music. And
So you dance with your pen,
dance,
playing it around.
whatever,
Right.
whatever makes it more enjoyable, and enjoying that.
Well, you said the word playfulness. I like that word, and it brings up the word play. And we kind of again live in a world where play is for kids and dogs,
Right.
and that seems kind of sad. Is that really how we are, and is it something we're supposed to outgrow?
I think the culture often says that. We are often given messages. I mean, what's interesting when working with folks, sometimes you find this tremendous, actually, pain around the loss of play, that whether it be you're not allowed to be creative, you're not allowed to play. There's trauma around this playfulness because someone gets yelled at when they did something.
Yeah.
They were painting colors, and now you're not painting. You're painting beyond the lines.
Right.
What's wrong with you? People that are competitive, and might be the father or the mother for that matter, who Johnny is playing little soccer, and they're going, kill the ball, and they're getting all bent, and so instead of it being fun, it turns into this competition. So there's actually a fair amount of stuff that gets in the way of people being playful, or maybe somebody was sick, they're playful, and then grandma or somebody had cancer or whatever it was, shh, don't be quiet.
Right.
You can't. So there are plenty of folks who have actually traumas around that. And then the culture just kind of says, now you got to get to work. But it's not really exclusive. You can have fun. You can have fun at work. A lot of it's attitude.
Right.
How are you, when you go to work? Do you try to have fun, or do you try to, with your colleagues?
Really?
Or?
I think it's good to. I mean, life's more interesting if you have fun.
I think so. People think therapy should be very deadly serious.
Yes.
Not in my office.
So tell me about that, because that is an image people have.
Actually, it's funny because there's a Cape story. One of my friends is David Roth, who who lives in Orleans. He's a singer-songwriter, and so and I love his stuff. And so I have a few of his songs on my computer, and so eventually, like, couples will come in and they'll get into the things. Well, you should do this and you should do that, And so I say, just a minute. There's something on my computer. I have a song I want to play for you, and I cue up a song that David wrote called "Don't Shoot on Me and I Won't Shoot on You." So people laugh, and they get the point, and it's much more. It goes in more.
Yeah, it really. When we're serious about life in general, everything seems to take more effort.
Right.
And a little bit of sugar, a little lightness helps. It seems to help everything. Does that make us healthier too?
Yeah, actually, there is research that shows that laughing and happiness and playfulness, lowers blood pressure, does all kinds of good things. There's research that shows that couples that engage in novel activities, so new and in playful ways, are closer. So yeah, getting out of rut, that's all kinds of good stuff that way.
Well, marriage is one of those things you hear people talk about, and they say earnestly, it takes hard work to make a good marriage. And for me, that makes me say, no, don't want that. But that's not what marriage is supposed to be about, right? Hard work?
Well, I mean, there is.
Put you on the spot.
There is. I mean, there is work involved. However, so this gets back to the point of the book. So one of the things that we talked about is what's called the idea of the ratio of positive to negative in your relationship. Right. And so there's a very famous John Gottman and Gottman they're the leading researchers, and there's a very famous idea out there that you want 5 positives to 1 negative. However, and the Gottmans would say this, that quote actually is during conflict.
Even in conflict?
You need 5 to 1 in conflict for things to work out. What they would say in regular life is more like 20 to 1. So if you think about it, and we tend to say about 10 to 1. It depends how you score it. But if you think about if you have 5 to 1, that means 20% of the time it's negative. That seems kind of a lot.
Yeah.
So yes, there's work involved, there's effort, but really the effort needs to be on building up the positive.
Right.
Because when you don't have enough positive, then when something bad happens, it feels much worse. It's like if you go to the, if you have to take $100 out of the bank. If you've got 5,000 in the bank, no big deal.
Yeah.
If you've got 200, big deal.
Yeah.
So you want to and that kind of effort, taking the time to do positive things, to go out on date night. It doesn't have to be hard work, drudgery,
Right.
but there is effort. I often talk to couples about return on investment, you know, ROI. Take the time to go out, do something different, have a little fun. You know, I mean, it could be something as simple as, you know, go out and pretend you've never met before, speak in a foreign language, whatever.
It sounds like kind of like crazy things you did like when you were in college, you know, and
But there, I know plenty of older couple, you know, people who've been married for years, and they still do some of these. They'll go out and they do something, or so yeah. I mean, all these things are it's helpful to take to nurture this. To cultivate's the word I like. You have like gardening. You don't throw the seeds down and do it. You got to water it. You got to weed.
does it become habit after a while if you make an effort to be more positive and be more playful in what you do? Do you start to become like that?
I think yes, yeah. As a matter of, and not only that, there's research that shows that if you're a playful, happy person, you'll make other people around you more playful and happy. And so hang out with people who are playful and happy.
Right, kind of rubs off.
And it rubs, yeah, it becomes the culture. So absolutely, and then guess what? If you do it with your kids, same thing.
Right.
Here's the funny story. So my kid was like, I don't know, 7 years old, and I was writing this book at the time, I think. I don't know, maybe I had already written, I'm not sure. But anyway, it doesn't matter. So he and his buddies are outside and they're playing bang bang, I got you, right? And they're all fighting about, no, you didn't get me. So I walk out there and I said to these guys, I said, boys, you're doing this all wrong. They go, what do you mean? I said, don't you understand the most fun is dying? Let me see some good dying. You know, bang, oh, you got me, you know. And so they start cracking up. So then they had this big thing about, you know, who could die better. It was a lot more fun. There was a lot more laughter. You know.
You just took it and turned it around.
Well, they were being competitive. It's, you know, it's like, it's not important who wins. It's important, you know, if you're a professional sports team, fine. But if you're just having fun.
Well, I thought the night you just said it's not important who wins, because I think in all kinds of relationships, a lot of us tend to compete.
Well, yeah, people get into power. Yes, they can get into power struggles or competitions, and it's win-lose. And really, you want to make it win-win. One of the things that I mean, I've done over the years, I just realized this. For 20 years, I've been taking improv classes. Yeah,
that's cool. Yes, I know.
Comedic improv, and so we talk about, and that's in the book about this idea of yes and. That's one of the classic rules of improv. You always accept the offer.
Did you do theater sports?
I haven't, but I've done
in San Francisco.
I've done improv. I've taken classes from them. I've never.
They're wonderful.
Yes, so it's the same kind of thing, and it's an interesting way of finding ways to say yes. You can up the ante and play back, and but you know, and just teaching couples to or anybody to find a way to say yes. Find the humor in things.
Yeah.
I'm always looking for the humor in things, and it's just more interesting that way. So sometimes tell people like, well, just watch a bunch of Seinfeld a lot, you know, and my wife and I will talk about Seinfeld, and you know, we get or if you don't like Seinfeld, pick some other TV show.
Whatever it is you love.
Whatever it is you love, yeah.
Oh, in your book, I know you give some specific techniques and ways of kind of holding a mirror and looking at how you can change some of those behaviors. What are some of those tips that you give to people?
Well, one of them is the whole yes and thing that we really go through. We say, here's how you do it, and there's some exercises about saying, like if someone says, would you help me, or would you do the, like, can you do the dishes? Yes, and, well, I don't, maybe you could help me, or yes, and after the dishes, well, or, in a playful way, not in a demanding way. That's one of them. I mean, one of the other things we talk about is this idea of protecting the play zone. So sometimes people will go out, they'll go on a date, and they get in their car, they're going to go drive 20 minutes to wherever. And there's a temptation to say, well, I've got my partner here for 20 minutes. Maybe we could talk about something, serious.
Oh.
You know, that thing, and it's like, no, don't do that.
So all of a
Don't
sudden,
do-
you're instead of having a fun date, you're talking about how little Johnny is having
Whatever.
a power struggle with his teacher.
or,
and how he's gonna handle it.
or, you know, we need to talk, you know, the dreaded words, we need to talk.
Oh.
Don't do that on a date. Have a separate meeting for that.
Right.
Are two things that come to mind quickly. Go and, you know, we have a thing where we give a whole bunch of things. Do you do these fun activities or
Right.
those fun activities? Lots of people just get stale. They just stop doing stuff that's fun. And they go, I don't understand. We used to be fun. Are you doing the same things you did? Well, no. Well, you know, sometimes it's not rocket science.
What's horribly easy, again, whether it's a relationship or just your daily life, it's like you get up, you have things you have to do, you kind of feel like you're on a treadmill sometimes.
Right, absolutely. Go to work, 2 jobs,
Yeah.
take the kids, I mean, overscheduling kids to soccer, kids to ballet. I mean,
Yeah.
so people conduct their lives. They put their kids too much at the center of their lives. I don't think that's a good long-term strategy, because if you don't nurture the marriage, you know, you run the risk of things going stale, and then now your kids really have a problem.
Yeah. And then your kids go off to school and you look at each other and say,
Well, there's that too. And the kids get the wrong idea about life, like it's all about them. It isn't. I mean, they can learn, oh, guess what? Mom and Dad have date night. Wouldn't that be nice? They just come to expect it. I guess we're going to have to fend for ourselves.
but how cool for them to see you can have date night even as an adult.
That's a good that's good modeling.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, tell me how you play.
How I play?
Yeah, what do you do to play?
Well, I play. One of the things I do is I play music. So I write music. I sing songs. I have a band. We go out. We play. I've been doing that more and more. Actually, what's interesting, there was a time when my wife and I were having a bit of a rocky patch, and I realized I wasn't playing music anymore. I had just stopped. So I was kind of like, the relationship has to take care of me. And one of the things that helped fix it was I said, you know what? I'm not going to focus on the relationship.
Right. I'm
going to take care of me. So I did more of that, and sure enough, things got better. So I play music.
Right.
I take improv classes. I do a little exercise, not enough, and I'm always looking for something that's funny. I mean, I love watching comedy shows. I live for. I'm so sad that the Daily Show. When Jon Stewart left. Although I like Trevor, and I would live. I tape those things and watch those things, and so.
It's a lot of different aspects of you get touched by not being serious about everything.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
Well, I love your comment about playing music, because sometimes the other thing I think that happens to us as adults is we get told we can only do the serious things that have a direct return. And that all the exploring we do as kids and the things that we have as passions, like maybe we love music but we can't make money at it, and so we get told not to do it. And I feel that somehow inherently changes our notion of having fun, because now the things that we had passion for are told to cut them out.
No, I don't make. Although I have made a few bucks playing music, but I don't make money.
But I mean, you don't do it. That's not the reason. It's not the job.
No, I get tremendous joy. It is the most joyful thing I do in my life is play music. And if I could, I don't know if I could make a living, maybe I'd do it, but maybe it wouldn't be quite so joyful. But I love doing it. I love writing it. I love singing. I love doing my songs. I love performing, and it just gives me such pleasure. And I wouldn't give that. I mean, that's worth just tons of money.
Well, then you become that person you were just describing, of someone who feels joyful, and that people around you are going to respond that way.
They seem to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. I have, over the years, I've known a number of people with different arts passions, and several of them have told me that even if I could do the fill-in-the-blank art as a job, I wouldn't want to, because then I wouldn't love it.
Right.
And
maybe.
I need this thing that I love.
Right.
And that's what keeps me alive, keeps me engaged. A bunch of different ways to say it. And what was interesting about all these people is they all seem to connect in really positive ways with the people around them. So I'm wondering if, one of the important aspects of play is nourishing this sense of passion in yourself for something that doesn't get measured in the adult way.
Play is this amazing word. Go look it up in the dictionary. It has all these variations. Everything from a play, to be or not to be.
Yes, that's the question.
to playing music, playing
Right.
all kinds of things. So it does stir up it does develop passion. It does open you up. So it's like you're saying, I'm going to do, you're being in the moment.
Right.
You're being, it sets people free. It has all these expansive qualities. It creates positive emotions, which opens up your, literally, I mean, there's research on happiness and positive emotions that says this opens you up. So you're absolutely right. All of these things in the broadly area of play, humor, being spontaneous, all of that stuff, there are a lot of variations on it, is really, it's great for people. It's good for your brain. It's good for everything.
Yeah. Well, it seems if you can't be that with yourself, how can you be that in a relationship?
Exactly. So
Right.
Exactly right. So if you're shut down yourself, you can't bring it to the relationship.
Yeah.
Hi, honey. Let's have fun. That's not true. I don't. Yeah. So.
It's something that seems so sort of
It's
simple,
right from the beginning we call this I call this a twist tie idea. Meaning, the guy that invented twist tie made $1 million.
Yeah, you go,
Wasn't all that like, oh, duh? Well, duh. It's not that complicated. It really isn't. You just need to take the time to do it. It's not rocket science. But it just, but there's a lot of pressure against it. There's a lot of things, whether it be economic, some of the cultural messages we've gotten. But I think again, the return on investment of trying to up the priority of that a bit. I think people would just try it. Find something that's playful for you, that brings you joy. One of my favorite questions for people is, what do you do that brings you joy on a regular basis? I don't mean like, okay, I love going once a year going skiing, which I like to do too, by the way, or scuba diving. I like to do that as well. But that's once in a while. What do you do on a regular basis? Because once a year or twice a year, I mean, it's good, but
it's on your calendar.
It's not gonna. In the memory of, and then you can sustain it. You can show your pictures, but it's not the same as what do you do every time.
Do most people have a hard time answering that?
Well, some do, some don't. I mean, it's sort of a diagnostic. If when they go, I have no idea. You go, well, there you go. Maybe you need to find something, and the harder it is for people to find something, I mean, it's just harder for them, and it's that's as hard therapy as working on trauma or something. It's like finding something that's meaningful. Although again, I mean,
Does that happen gradually? I mean, are there always some people who don't engage and have fun even when they're little, or is it something that you lose over time?
I don't know. There's there are the Eeyores and the Tiggers of the world. And so again, there's some grain of salt in this. There's certain personality. Not everybody's gregarious and outgoing. And some people are more extroverted, and some people more introverted. So I'm not saying everybody has to be, hey, So, you have to find what's right for you. But the more you can, so it could be collecting stamps, and it's more private, one-on-one thing. Okay, that's great. Or meditating.
Right.
It doesn't all have to be, I'm doing improv on Saturday Night Live or something.
Well, in the couples world, which is where you work in a lot, and your book addresses, do both couples have to find joy in the same thing?
No, absolutely not. And it's even better if they don't. I mean, it's good if they do.
Right.
I mean, it's nice to when you share some things, but no, I mean, my wife loves to horseback ride. Now, I don't horseback ride. I did it once. It's kind of cool. I would do it more, but only so much time. Not my thing. Makes her, puts her on cloud nine. So what I can do, though, is I can try to enjoy it with her, and she can tell me a story, and I can try to go, wow, that's interesting. You know, so that I can do. So you can try to play with your spouse. So if if your spouse loves the opera and you're not crazy about the opera, maybe you can go with a good attitude.
Right.
Maybe you'll learn something. It may never be your favorite thing.
Or you can enjoy their enjoyment.
Or at least you can enjoy their enjoyment. Maybe they go and not be jealous and not be,
Right.
let them go do their thing, and that they can come back and be happy.
And you share it, and you don't have to participate in it to...
If you can, I mean,
pleasure.
sometimes you won't. I mean, nothing's perfect in the world, but you find something.
Yeah.
If you find nothing, if you can't share that, and you have no common things, it's
You're both happy over here. It's kind of like you're both miserable here, both happy here, but the ideal is to be someplace.
Well,
there.
it's funny. Did you look at the book? Because we have a chart on that. Oh, you did. Okay, I was going to be. If you figured that out on your own, I was going to be really impressed. Yeah, I mean, you can be.
You can
so
still be
we have a little.
impressed.
I'm still impressed that you call. Yes, you can. So some people have their happiness separate, and some people think you have to be right on top. You have to be this.
Right.
Like one person, and that's not good either. You need some separation and some overlap in how you get your pleasure with each other. Not the least of which is,
Oh, of course.
sex.
Of course, that's...
Sex, flirting, all that
Yeah.
stuff too, which we
You
don't have
forget
to
to
talk.
flirt, actually. People who have been together for a long time forget to flirt.
It's a too bad. It's so
know.
much fun. Yeah.
It's fun.
It's
Fun.
It's fun. It's fun, absolutely.
And fun, as we know, is a good thing.
Yeah.
Well, believe it or not, I just got the little flag, we're almost out of time.
That went
See,
fast.
we're having fun.
We're having fun.
We're having fun.
Time goes by.
So I'm Teresa Martin from Lower Cape TV, and with me today is Dr. Bob Schwarz, who says, don't forget to have fun in life, have passion in life. With your partner, your significant other, your people in your life, don't forget to find fun with each other. And, it doesn't mean don't grow up, but it doesn't mean life has to be a serious burden all the time either.
Right.
Thank you
Thanks.
again.
Thank you.